we are joined by a special guest today. She used to be a hooker, #RedRose, but also capped by Canada. Mackenzie Carson, welcome.
Can you tell us what's on your feet?
Kitty get slippers.
The balls move.
Happy birthday.
First time I met Scaz, just kept giving you a little side eye and would you like a cheesy chip? And you were like, no.
Hello, I'm Mo. Nice to meet you.
Should we kiss? No, I'm a terrible sleeper. Sleepwalking the whole 9 yards. I'm like Ratatouille. I'm like in the kitchen. I'm like,
It was so funny when we were away in Canada.
the coffee machine stopped working. And everyone was like, Mack. And I was like, I'm not an electrician. Sarah is obviously a specimen. Please, please don't embarrass me. That's what was singing in my head when we go against each other. I'm like, do not embarrass me here. And she does every time.
Welcome back to The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby, brought to you by our good friends at Vodafone after a trip to Exeter, a sub in from our Meg, and a visit to Loughborough, Scazzy's house.
Woo!
Woo! We are back in the studio. We're joined by our Mo, the ringleader at the circus. Yay!
Didn't know if you needed a comment then or not, so I was just waiting for
She's
the
like,
pause.
I'm ready, ready, give me
It's
anything.
been a while, I just don't know how to do it anymore.
And we are joined by a special guest today. She used to be a hooker. Not like that.
that you know of. We've all got our secrets, girls. We've all got our secrets.
She's in the circus with our Mo. And she plays alongside both Scaz and Mo for the number one side in the world, the Red Roses, but also has caps for the number two side in the world, Canada, which is a major flex. I mean, that's pretty big. You might pick up a bit of that Canadian roots in her accent. Mackenzie Carson, welcome to The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I also have to say yay.
Yay.
Can we also say happy birthday, Elma?
Oh, it is my birthday on the day of recording.
I tried to get Mo's attention as you were doing your intro to say,
I
should we
didn't know
sing at
whether-
her? But
no,
then
but I didn't know whether to interrupt because I was
Always.
going to go in early, but they hadn't. Alma hadn't done the Vodafone piece. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't know at what point you jump in.
And I just want to introduce Mackenzie and
Yeah.
make sure Mack's part of the conversation as well.
Well, anyway, happy birthday. Can you tell us what's on your feet, please?
For the audio listener, I was surprised
Pulls
upon
to the
my
camera.
arrival by the funniest kitty cat slippers that I have ever seen in my life. A, because they look just like Frank, one of my cats, black and white kitty cat. But
Can you
also,
take them off and
I
turn them
wonder,
around?
firstly, how many people have got that got those slippers? And secondly, sorry, stop doing that in my face. The balls move.
the slipper has a little tail and kitty cat balls on the front of it, and they wobble
So does its head.
awkwardly.
How many people have a black and white cat, right? And have the cat memorabilia. Wait
Sorry.
for
Yeah, no.
it. It's just like, it looks just like Frank. And I thought probably every person that has a black,
Looks
and,
like every
white
black and
cat.
white cat.
Do you know what I mean? Sorry.
No, but this
Sorry, I
does
had no
actually
idea
look
where
like
you were
that.
going with
Stick
Yeah,
with me.
Blow my cat. Okay.
So thank you so much for my special slippers, guys.
You're welcome. Happy birthday.
The pink ears just look exactly the same as him.
I'll show you a picture. You don't have to believe
The
me.
wagging black
That's
tail
not
just
the
looks
point. You're
exactly...
missing the point. You are so missing the point. The point is, every black and white cat looks like that.
No, they don't. So the colouring is different. Sometimes they don't have a little white snout with a little pink nose. Sometimes they have a black nose. Okay, we're completely devolving into killer whale territory here.
Welcome, Mackenzie.
Welcome, Mackenzie. So, Mackenzie Carson, tell us about your first impressions when you met Mo and Scaz. Were they like this?
Yeah, actually. Exactly like this, actually. No, I actually think the first time I met Scaz, I actually don't even know if you remember this. Probably not. But I think I just jumped on the back of a Six Nations after party kind of thing, and I was stood on the street, and it was literally just me and you, and just kept giving you a little side eye, and just went, would you like a cheesy chip? And you were like, no. And then you walked away, and I was like, all right, that's that, I
When
guess.
was that? When was that?
I don't even know.
As in, were you trying to be
I
her
just
friend?
thought maybe we could stir up some conversation or something, and she was like, no.
And you
walked
led
away.
with
Was I
cheesy
rude?
chips.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, if she doesn't like cheesy chips, I don't know where to go from here. So that's it.
It wasn't
Yeah.
you, it is the cheesy chip
Yeah,
situation.
fair enough.
You're not
fair
a fan of
enough.
that, are
Not a
you?
big
I
cheesy chip
had
girl.
no other tools to
Oh, I'm so
get the
sorry
ball
about
rolling. No, it's fine. I think that is kind of how we communicate
were
now. I
you?
just throw myself on you and you're like, okay. I'm like,
She's like
anyways.
that.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Take a bit of warming up to.
Yeah.
it's
Took
okay.
took her about 3.5 years to warm up to me.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
Did you try cheesy chips? Because
No, I tried avocado tree.
oh,
I showed her my avo tree.
Is
She
that-
was just looking at me very nonplussed.
Is that- okay. Can I
What
see
did
your
I-
avocado tree? Or?
What did I say?
Can I see it? Is that- Whoa. Only just got
It
here,
was an
guys.
actual tree. That I love gardening. Sorry, she's a farmer girl.
As avocado tree holders do.
Yeah, I was very proud,
Oh.
and she was just not that impressed.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, did that survive in this country or was that in South Africa?
No, it was when I was still back in the home country.
Why is that funny?
Do you think she dug it up, put it in quarantine with the cats and brought it over?
In the crate, in the container.
Oh, I don't know. It could be like potted.
Potted. Sorry. Why did you say it like
Did you think it would live happily here?
I don't know.
Have you seen many
That's why I
avocados
asked
hanging
the
from
question.
trees in London?
Sorry, that's just how my brain works.
Oh, good Lord.
And then
I
your
didn't
first
even know they came from trees, but we're not even going to go there.
did you think they grew under the ground
Yeah, I
like
just don't
potatoes?
know, like-
yeah, yeah.
How do you know these things? Do you know what I mean?
You farm,
Right.
So Mackenzie, your
Need to
first
download
impressions
that
of
game
Mo?
again. Farm Bill.
No.
No cheesy chips with Mo then.
No. I actually can't remember
don't
the first
know,
time I
yeah.
ever met you. Maybe we've
I
never
would have
formally
introduced
met.
myself. No, I would have introduced myself.
Really? What would you have said?
Hello,
Should we-
I'm Mo. Nice to meet you.
I'm Mack. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, that.
Shall we kiss? No. Too far.
You just made it
Sorry,
weird.
too far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Made it weird. There
escalated.
was so much
Sorry.
eye contact at that moment. as
No,
well.
what you do? You never know until you know. Anyways,
Right, I don't even know where to go. When did I meet you?
I don't know.
Not
When,
sure.
Yeah, I feel like it must have been maybe when I came into camp. I
Yeah,
guess.
first time in camp must have been.
Yeah.
When was that? How many years ago now?
2.
Is that all?
Isn't that mad? I think that's
feel like
way
you've
longer.
been around
No, we
forever.
would have met you when you were at Saris, 100%.
Yeah, but I don't know
Yeah,
if we
but I
like
wouldn't have
formally. Like,
introduced-
yeah,
Fine, but you would have.
you run in the same circles. I
So
guess.
you would
Yeah.
have
but-
Yeah.
you would have shook hands after a match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
potentially.
but not like a full on.
But not like, hey, would you like a
Hey.
cheesy chip?
yeah,
Yeah.
or a warm embrace or
Yeah.
anything like that.
You
Sorry, I
probably
don't
would
know
have
why.
commented on some scrummaging at some point, I reckon, in the
Yeah.
game or
Probably
something.
chirped her.
Yeah, you probably hated me.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably did go. She's going nowhere. She doesn't want it.
It's more like, can you watch the hips? You know, like the whole
Yeah,
dip in or like the gap or, do you know,
Yeah.
bind. That's
Yeah.
what I'd have gone after.
you would go. Yeah,
just
after
play
the gap.
Bingo.
Yeah.
yeah.
That is what I do.
She's like any
What-
buzzword I
what's
can
the rest
possibly
of the
think
scrum bingo?
Where your feet are going, the angles, if your hips are popping out, shoulders through. Shoulders
Boring
through
in.
is a good
That's
one.
a good one. Boring in.
Yeah, shoulders through. Because sometimes only one's out, so like they can't take the hip properly because the other one's back behind the hooker.
Which one? Yeah, which shoulder?
Yeah, the one behind the hooker.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a thing, no?
Yeah.
Scrum class with Mo.
Well, I'm here all day.
So any nines, if you need more chips, please DM our Mo. She's got a whole bingo list for you.
No, let's not encourage that.
Who is our Mac in camp when she's with you guys? When she joined, what did she bring? What's in her bag of tricks as a teammate off the pitch?
I just remember a lot of good energy
Yeah.
and like lols. I think you came in,
Lols.
I think, because you were at Saris with bots at the time, weren't you?
Yep.
And I just remember you two like being a pair, or not a pair, but certainly knew each other well.
Yin and
then it was
yang.
just,
Yeah.
just really like good vibes, high energy. And yeah, generally slamming some people, but in a really nice way.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, just like, you know, people that just light up a room when they walk in there. That is Mac all over. And just can
Sorry,
bring
that's
like...
so nice. What?
No, genuine. Genuine. And like brings light to any situation. And no matter like the depths of the darkness that you go into, whatever, like Mac will always be the person that you can like look to have a little bit of a positive spin on it, which is really nice.
That's a nice thing for people to say.
yeah, some might say
Yeah.
completely unprofessional. Really?
No, nobody says that at all.
I mean, you're the one who like made Mo so uncomfortable that she blushed in the
Well.
first 5 minutes of the show.
That she
Yeah.
blushed and had to grab the muff off the table.
Yeah, she got
Saw that.
nervous.
Yeah, I know,
She's
it's
like
called
collecting
comfort.
things.
Yeah, comfort muff.
And then I could just do this because my head's so small that it actually hides me.
For those who are listening, it's one of the foam covers on the microphone that was sat on the table. Mo just grabbed it and held onto it like it's a little soft toy.
Like a teddy.
Yeah. Just a little comfort cuddle.
That's okay though. Do you not like hug a pillow every now and again? Just like a little bit of.
Not in the daytime while recording something, but
I cry on the
You
inside
are
like a
literally
woman.
doing it now.
it's different.
What,
It's
you cuddle
different.
it in a pillow?
Yeah, she was like
Just
this.
had it nestled in there.
So coming into that England environment, Mackenzie, considering the fact that you had already made your appearance for Canada previously, you qualify by way of your mum being from Plymouth originally.
Yep.
What's that experience and your relationship with your identity like now? I'm going real deep already, but you
Yeah.
come into that camp with Hannah Bottomman, like loads of laughs, fun, light, keep it, really enthusiastic. But was there a bit of awareness there of the fact that you were coming in as someone who has also represented a different country? Did you carry that with you at all?
Yeah, definitely. It felt quite weird, I guess, at first, because it was a bit like, I was like, oh, I'm a bit of an imposter, actually. I could just come in here and steal all your secrets and leave, and no one can stop me. But no, it was, yeah, I mean, I think I hadn't played for Canada in quite a while at that point, so I didn't necessarily feel like I was super connected to that group either. And I just thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I might as well go into camp for a bit, run around, and then never really left since then. So yeah, no, I probably carried that a little bit, and just it felt a little bit weird, I guess, because I think obviously being at series and stuff, you hear about people like going into camp and it's quite a big thing. Six Nations comes around every year, but yeah, to be actually part of it was a bit weird, I guess, at first. But
Did you find a big difference between the two environments?
yeah, like massive. I think it I guess it's different because they obviously meet less frequently, so it's more like it's very targeted at like what performance outputs you're kind of doing or like what tournament you're at, whereas camp, like when I first came in, at least, it was a bit more like relaxed. You kind of got there, did a few chatty bits, and then it was less focused on like a match week or something at the end of it. So yeah, it was a bit more of a nice introduction, I guess. Yeah.
Was there any awareness among the players of this? Because perception is fact. So sometimes it's not a thing for you subjectively. You come in and you feel like, I don't have a close connection with Canada, but people who might not have played with you at club or country before might just look at you and go, oh, there's that girl who played for Canada previously.
I definitely remember that because I didn't know you at all prior to it. But I also think it's never a, why is she coming into camp? She's Canadian piece. It's like she's obviously played here for a long time. She feels a certain pull to England and wants to give that a shot. So I'd like to think it's quite a welcoming environment in that sense.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I don't think anybody ever said anything. I mean, maybe they kept it to themselves, maybe, but yeah, no,
everyone just mocks your accent as soon as you get into camp.
That
maybe.
is actually a bit of a thing. That is a bit of a thing, and it is a bit of a sticking point for me. Because it does get a bit when I'm just speaking and people are like, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't actually say that, but all right, that sounds good. But no, yeah, obviously the accent's a little bit different. But to be fair, I feel like I've lived here for so
Amy's
while.
and Meg's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Amy was,
What's Amy's accent?
to be fair, didn't she have New Zealand accent when she first came over? No?
I think she had a twang to start with.
Sorry,
yeah.
thank you. Mugged me off. And Meg.
Sorry, I
Otherwise-
thought you were talking about like nutrition, Amy. I was like, she's from Liverpool, but like that's fine.
Not her,
but
not her,
yeah,
not
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So you're 26 now. You were 20 when you came over.
Yeah.
Tell us about that move at 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I was just at uni and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with uni, but I always kind of followed along like the prem, I guess. What was it? Like the yeah,
was it
would have
called?
been the
The
just the
Prem,
premiership
Tyrrells.
at that point. Yeah.
Tyrrells.
Yeah. And yeah, I just kind of always followed it and thought it was really cool. And all I knew I wanted to do was play rugby. So I was like, well, take a year out of uni, go live somewhere abroad. And it was easy because I had obviously didn't need like a visa or anything like that. So I was like, well, I'll go live in England, can work a bit, take a year off, figure my life out, and then literally never left after
What were you
that, so.
studying?
History.
So you were like, I can take a gap year halfway through a history degree. It's not going to...
You've not finished it, have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still on that gap year.
So it is history.
Still on that gap year.
Quite literally.
But it's dragged out quite a bit.
Yeah.
No. I technically haven't finished. I am actually quite close to finishing.
Are you?
Yes. It's just a bit complicated, obviously, now because I live here and it's there. So I either need to move it over here, and I'm just not sure I'm willing to do that. right now.
And what was the aim initially with the history degree?
I don't know if you know anything about me, but I have no aims whatsoever. I just kind of do things that people tell me to do.
Okay. So someone said history and you went, yeah.
Well, somebody just said, you probably should do something with your life. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go to university. That's what people do, isn't it? And it was also kind of just a ticket to play rugby. Like in Canada, that's just, you go to university to play rugby. And then I was just kind of mildly interested in history and then took a few courses and that was that.
What about it? I find that fascinating.
Well, to be fair, actually in Canada, it's a lot about like Indigenous studies and stuff like that. And I found that really interesting. So it was less like the wars and more about the people.
So Canada pre-colonial times?
Yeah, or like, I guess in just like how Indigenous people interact with people in Canada now as well. So it's a lot of like modern day, how history is repeating itself and how it's changed. And yeah, like the government in Canada and how, there's just a lot of lack of support for Indigenous people in Canada. So
sound pretty into it.
Give me my degree.
You not remember when we were at WXV just gone, you gave us a few little...
Yeah, I did give you a few
history
little tidbits.
Yeah. It was really interesting.
So you studying history, you decide I'm going to take a gap year, going to go play some rugby in England. Why England?
To be fair, it was between England and New Zealand. I just honestly wanted to travel. There was no rhyme or reason really, and they just seemed to have, England had the best kind of like rugby setup that I could think of. And also, again, kind of didn't need a visa, could get a job, so I wasn't super worried about, like not making money or, figuring that out. So that was kind of how I settled on moving to England. And
how did you pick Saracens? Because it's probably
Bristol
fair to
first,
say...
was it?
Yeah.
Bristol.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. How did you pick
okay.
Bristol? Because I was going to say, obviously, we have loads of North Americans over here now in terms of with the league and they're basically all over the PWR. But that would have probably not been the case when you first came over. So it wouldn't have been like, oh, everyone's doing it, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
Trailblazed.
Yeah, what can I say?
Do you actually say that? You get so many requests to help you. Like, I kind of want to play rugby over in England. Like,
no,
what
I
do
actually
really?
have. No, I actually have. Yeah.
I
A
wasn't
lot of
really
people
joking.
do reach out. No, I say a lot. There's probably been 3 in my life that have ever reached out. But yeah, no, it was kind of, there wasn't really a lot of people that were doing it at that point. And I think I just followed it like on Twitter and that and just kind of kept up with some of the games and was just like, obviously I kind of knew like who series were because it's like quite a global, like if you're in the rugby world, you kind of know, teams across the world. But yeah, for me, I settled on Bristol first because I didn't really want to live in London. And also, to be honest, actually, and I'm kind of bigging it up here, they were the only team that replied to me really and said, yeah, all right, we'll take you. So I was like, well, I've got not a lot of options, so I might as well do it. But I did, to be fair, I didn't really want to live in London. I didn't really want to live up north. And a lot of my family are in like Plymouth, Exeter way. So I thought, Bristol looks like a cool city. And we'll just see how I got on there. And I didn't really have any intentions of even making it. I just was like, oh, I'll go there and like maybe get into the second team or they'll ship me off to another local club. I'll just have a cool year and experience some stuff and play some rugby. And that was kind of it. And then it's all been a bit of a blur since then.
That's
So you didn't come here for a fast track into an international career?
Not really, no. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, it was on the back burner. I guess I had played like age grade stuff for Canada and I was like, oh, maybe I could upskill myself a bit and potentially get into like the senior squad one day. But it wasn't like, that wasn't the motivation really. It was more just to get out of Dodge and go experience the world really, to be honest. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
And then you do get picked up by Canada and invited into camp.
Yeah.
And you have the opportunity to represent your country. What's that like?
Yeah, so it was quite interesting because I had been playing at Bristol for probably like 6 or 7 months. And I'd actually had a conversation with Mids about potentially going down the England route. He was kind of like, just one time after a game, it was like such a brief conversation. He was like, yeah, like, we would probably like maybe bring you into like an England A thing or something. Like we usually use under 20s as the pathway, but like that could be an option. Like you're obviously EQP because at the time it was like, you got to register as like EQP or whatever it was called. And at the time I was uncapped, so I was technically EQP. Didn't really think much of it and kind of carried on. And then, like a week or 2 later, before the like autumn internationals, the head coach of Canada just rang me and said, oh, do you want to come into camp? We want to cap you. And I was like, well, no time like the present, might as well go and do it. So I went and got my first cap against England actually in Doncaster.
That's really interesting for me. So for those who don't know, England qualified players, that means that you're more valuable to a club because they can field a certain number of EQP players in a season. And there's a formula by which they then get penalised if they don't.
Used to be money. It used to be the same as the men.
And now
it's now
points.
Yeah.
So you get the opportunity to go play for Canada. You're like, okay, well, there is a pathway here that could lead to Red Roses qualification. I would also automatically then not be EQP because now I've been capped by Canada. Why go play for Canada when you have basically that dual pathway? Did it feel like there really was a decision there or not really?
Yeah, no, it didn't massively feel like there was like a major like crossroad decision to make at that point, because there wasn't really anything like solid from the England pathway. It was just a bit like, yeah, this is kind of the pathway, like you can have a conversation with mids and see what happens, but yeah, it wasn't really very formal. And yeah, obviously I got the call to be capped, and I guess I kind of just was like, well, you grow up kind of wanting to play for the country that you're born in, and I've played age grade for Canada, so it felt like a natural progression to do that. So I never really thought about it, I guess, in that sense, although Sarah will say that she told me not to play for Canada.
Really? Did she?
Yeah, she did actually. She was like, just wait. And I was
so
like,
were you
no.
teammates back in...
Yeah, well, that's how we met, is just literally through playing at Bristol. Yeah, we were just teammates.
Your partner?
Yes, my
Sarah
partner.
Byrne.
Sarah Byrne.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a whole conversation that we also still need to have. But so she told you not to?
Yeah, I think she just fancied me though. So I was like, that was just it.
She's like, I don't want you to be on the
Yeah,
other
she was like,
side.
do
wasn't gonna
not
be that
play
long.
for Canada. Oh my God.
I want to see you so much.
And I was like, what? Get away from me. But yeah, no. So yeah, that's how it kind of all came about, really.
And then who is it that wanted to move you into the front row from the back row?
Yeah, well, so I had played in the front row as a hooker in all like my age grade stuff anyways, but I actually was at university playing like 10/12, which is crazy. I actually did go to one Canada camp as a 12, and then they said, please don't ever come back, and I was like, fair.
No, they didn't. What did they actually
Pretty
say?
much, yeah. They were like, I don't think it's for you, and I was like, I don't think it's for me either, actually, so that's good. Yeah,
We're in agreement.
yeah. So like when I first came to Bristol, I was like, I'm a 12, like, dude, I'm a 12. I'm a 12, man. Gosh, body positivity. Don't look at me, man. What? But yeah, no. And then I just kind of slowly made my way further forward. And I was like, all right, I can accept I might be a little bit of a back row. And then I was like, I'm a bit of a hooker on her. And then now I'm a prop. So
It turns out.
I'm gonna be a ref pretty soon. Like there's nowhere else to go for me. So yeah.
TMO.
Yeah. Straight to DMO, man.
So you have the opportunity to play for Canada. You've now shifted into the front row, and then you go back and forth a little bit. There's a lot of oscillating between across the Atlantic.
Yeah. So I was like, so I had played at Bristol for a season, and then basically I was playing more back row than I was hooker at the time. And yeah, the Canada coach kind of rang me up and was like, well, if you want to keep playing for Canada. So basically I got my one cap in that autumn test series, and then was a one cap wonder after that, and just never got back in really. And so I was just desperate to not be a one cap wonder. I was like, I've got to at least get two. I've got to get two. And so yeah, so I kind of was just doing anything they really wanted me to at that point. And yeah, he kind of suggested maybe moving across to Series, and that he had set up kind of a bit of a connection there. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, why not? Like I loved my time at Bristol. It was great, but they were also probably not as far like where they are now. We were like pretty budget then. So yeah, I was like, might as well, like if I'm going to have a call with like one of the best teams in the country, I might as well take that. And if nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. Spoke to Alex, and he was kind of like, yeah, we need a hooker, so come on over. So that's kind of how I moved across to Series then. But then, I mean, I was in the same boat. I don't really know what happened there. I just ended up playing back row / hooker there. So nothing really changed actually.
Whose idea was it to actually make you like a proper prop? Like
the
full-time
prop thing came actually like just before I got capped for England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I was basically obviously trying to play hooker for Canada at that point. I did actually get 2 more caps after that, so I wasn't a 1 cap wonder.
Nice.
I was a 3 cap wonder.
Let's just get that.
Some might say a triple threat, really, but but yeah. And so I had all 3 caps were at hooker, and then I was coming back, and it was post World Cup. So yeah, I kind of moved back and forth a bit, especially during COVID. Like, there wasn't a lot of rugby being played, and I like had a few injuries here and there. So I was back and forth between Canada and England, and I'd gone home for a semester of uni, and I basically was coming back to England in the January after the World Cup. And Hannah obviously got hurt in the World Cup. Was it the final before the captain's run before
Yeah,
the final?
it was the
I think it was the
semi-final.
semi-final. Yeah. And at the time, she was really one of the only loose heads at series. So Alex just basically said, well, do you fancy covering it when you come back? And I said, well, give it a go and see what happens. Probably played about 3-4 games there and then was in for Six Nations.
I definitely jumped a lot of the story then. I didn't realise it happened that late.
Yeah, no, it was like it's pretty fresh, the whole prop thing.
Look at you now as well.
Don't actually look too closely. Might find some serious issues with that.
Does it feel like that?
I mean, I think playing in the front row, it's a pretty like taxing place to be, especially mentally. Like you have to be pretty resilient because it is literally just like you're on a 1v1 battle and it's quite a hard place to be, I guess. And there's a lot of like steep learning curves with it. But I definitely don't see myself playing anywhere else. Like, well, I physically could not play anywhere else. Let's get that clear. But no, I actually do love it. And I love the ins and outs of it and like the technical bits of it. And yeah, so yeah, that's how I've landed there and never going back.
You posted on Instagram, I love this, you said you'll never miss an opportunity that's meant for you. Been a crazy ride to get here. Hashtag number 249, Red Rose.
It was, yeah, I mean, there was quite a few crazy things that probably happened leading up to that, I guess. So in my whole like turmoil of playing for Canada, I guess, it was obviously the World Cup was there, and prior to that, I just basically had been told like you're not what we're looking for. We've got what we're looking for basically in camp with Canada. And then it got kind of closer to the World Cup and they said, oh, hey, like we've had an injury. Do you want to come into camp for a week and just see how you get on? And I was a bit like, yeah, okay. Like at that point I kind of was like, oh, maybe international rugby is just not for me. Like that's just the way it is. And like, you know.
Are you still in England at this point?
I can't actually remember exactly. Yeah, I think I was in England. Yeah. I was playing for series.
And enough time had lapsed since your last Canadian cap that you were now basically a free agent again.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And which I don't think I even really realized that was a thing when this whole thing was kind of unfolding. So yeah, I got asked to go back into camp. I went into camp, had a decent time. It just did not feel like the right fit for me, to be honest. So I kind of said to the coach, like, I just don't think it's for me. Like, I think I'm just going to take a bit of a break, and I've got a job back in England. Like, I'm just going to go back to work and play for series and be happy with that, and maybe pick up the like international rugby stuff later down the line. So I kind of made peace with that. That was in like the summer leading into the World Cup. And then literally the Canada were flying out, I think on the Friday, and the head coach called me and said, look, we've got another injury. Do you want to get on a plane on Friday and come to the World Cup? And I was like, it's a pretty sweet deal. Like, what?
There's not many people who would say no to that.
Yeah, no. And that was definitely something that crossed my mind. I was like, this is not an opportunity that presents itself to people frequently, that you just get guaranteed, get on a plane on Friday and you'll be in the World Cup. And it was definitely something that I was like, it was like a little carrot kind of dangling. And I kind of just remembered like, I didn't feel right when I was there, and it just wouldn't feel right. It actually would feel more wrong to get on the plane now, because I've never wanted to just waltz up and be picked because there's been a bunch of injuries and they need somebody to come, and I haven't actually been in the camps and done the work. So I think for me, I was a bit like, well, yeah, I could get on that plane and have a great time, I'm sure, or I could not and be happy with that. And I did kind of think this is either going to be the best decision or the worst decision of my life, but I guess we'll find out. And yeah, I said no, and then moved back to England, and then a few months later I was playing for England. So it's pretty wild.
Did you answer him straight away when he called you, or did you say, can I have some time to think about it?
I said, can I have some time to think about it? Yeah. And I did. I probably took like 3 or 4 days. I didn't have much time really to think about it. And it was genuinely like so back and forth. I was like, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Lots of tears, lots of like confiding in people. But for me, it just didn't feel authentically me. Like, and at that point I was just like, well, yeah, I could go to a World Cup, but like, is that what you actually want right now? Or is that because you've been told that's like what you want to do? And that's what it kind of felt like. So for me, I was like, I'm just going to have to watch this one from home. And if I'm meant to go to one in the future, I'll go to one. And if I'm not, I'm not. And that's the way it is. So
huge amount of respect for that. Because like you said, that's not an easy thing to turn down, is it? Because people don't chase like milestones, but people chase like achievements and
for sure,
big tournaments and caps in places that are really cool. So
no, for sure. But yeah, I think it was just something that I just kind of toyed with. And I think I'm sure a lot of the people like on the Canada side of things think it's probably me being like, Balm, see you later, I'm jumping ship, like gotta go. But it actually was not like that at all. It was very, yeah, very much so about me as a person, I guess, and where I was at with like, yeah, my mental and physical well-being. It was just it wasn't right. It wasn't right for me. So yeah.
That's really interesting. So this is now September, October 2022. You have the opportunity. All you need to do is get on the plane and you're going to a World Cup and you go, actually, I'm going to opt out of this. Not the right thing, not the right time. That's like the most deeply held intuition that you must have there for what your journey and your path should be, because that's not rationality speaking. That's you going, I'm just not feeling right about this. And then 4 months later, the Six Nations rolls around.
Was there any chat of England before that point?
No, yeah.
Just your gut.
Yeah, I think there maybe had been like, Alex might have said, oh, we can register you as like EQP again or something. Like there might have been that. I can't quite remember exactly, but there was never any like,
yeah, that's not a reason.
You're going to play for England, like you're going to come back and like, if I knew what would unfold, like I would have, never had a clue what was going to happen after that. But yeah, it was mostly just like, I don't know. I think too, it also just felt like a bit of a disservice to like all the girls that were in the mix of it and were like in the thick of it. And I was just like, oh, that's a whole experience, like going through all that. And like, you don't just get on a plane and experience it, right? You miss out on that. So I just was like, it's just,
So fair. Like the main bonding is done, isn't it? Like on the training field, like putting yourself through it, pre-season building up to something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Is it because of Canada and the sacrifices that playing for Canada requires of players? The fact that it is really voluntary, you're doing fundraising, you're sleeping on couches, you're really, you are doing it as a labor of like immense love. And so there has to be a lot of emotion involved in fueling that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, it probably came to a head where I was like, I'm just not, this isn't for me. Like, I'm not in this. Like, I think the amount of money my parents and family members have shelled out for age grade stuff, like you had to pay every time you went to a camp, every time you did anything, under 20s, under 18s, all of that was self-funded. So yeah, the amount of like fundraisers we did, things like that growing up, like it was, we definitely, had to graft to get to where we were. And then I think when I got a bit older and saw the rugby over here, I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't actually have to be like that at all. And so I think for me, it kind of came to a head because they kind of were like, well, if you don't show up here, there, and everywhere and self-fund it, like, do you want it that bad? And I was like, maybe I don't. But also, is that really what we should be saying to people? Like, is that, oh, if you can't make it work, do you really want it that much? Because I can't imagine most people would sit there and go, oh yeah, I don't really want it that much, but I'm going to sleep on sofas all the time and live in caravans to make it work. But
I relate to that so much. And this sounds incredibly off topic, but I was offered after I graduated a position that was really, really, it was regarded as the gateway into being a serious journalist. And I could physically not afford to do the job because they wouldn't pay me enough to literally be able to survive. And so many, like my journalism lecturers judged me hard. And like I got so many side eyes because I didn't want to take up this amazing opportunity. And I was just like, I shouldn't have to go into debt if this is such a good opportunity for me. I completely respect that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like that thing of like, oh, well, the opportunity's there, you should take it. And it's like, it kind of goes back to the whole like, well, you should be grateful for what you have. And as women, you know, like you need to make those sacrifices. And they're not sacrifices, they're choices. Well, they are sacrifices though.
They are.
When it comes down to it, paying your rent, having food on the table, having stability, happiness, mental well-being, those are all sacrifices if you don't have those things in place. And for me, I just was like, I actually just can't do this anymore. Like it's just a cycle of, making ends meet and like giving up work and things like that. And I think it probably hurt because it kind of maybe felt like it was my character being called into question, I guess. It's a bit like, oh, well, you're just being a bit difficult, or like everyone else does it, why can't you do it? And I just was a bit like, I have nothing else left to give you guys, I guess is how it kind of felt. And I think especially in Rugby Canada, they, I guess, not take advantage of that, but I think they play on that a lot in terms of, making young players feel like they have to do certain things in order to make it. And if they don't, well, then they won't. So
you said it before, haven't you, about obviously we've spoke to Sophie de Goody about like the fundraising that they've done. And it's incredible. And the story and the backstory of it all is unbelievable. But at the same time, like, why are we celebrating that? Like, we're in a world now where we shouldn't have to be celebrating that. Like, that should be a given. And actually there comes to a point where you need to be looked after by your home unions. Like it needs to be at that level. I think there's so much to be said as well about like holding your values. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously you have the values that you have and you're living by them, and that's probably why you got to the decision that you got to, because actually like that's ingrained in you and you're like, no, like I'm at peace with it because that's right for me and that feels okay. Like there's so much to be said for that.
Yeah.
I also like putting an impartial hat on, the pressure that it puts on players, and I'm thinking like especially like young players in Canada where they're having to make a choice potentially between physical, mental well-being, as you said, financial decisions, and or something they could have dreamed of their whole life in terms of playing international rugby. Like those that shouldn't be that.
Because also the financial strain isn't necessarily the players, like depending on their situation, that's actually parents that you're putting the strain on.
Exactly, like a family financial decision almost sometimes, isn't it? But you
but
should
also,
never have to make those decisions. Yeah.
And you're excluding, that's the thing, you're excluding a massive chunk of the population from the opportunity to do this.
And it's crazy brave to do what Mack did.
Yeah.
And because you didn't hope there would be another opportunity. It was like, what will be, fate will take care of itself. And obviously it's come in a totally different nation. But if you are somebody that has stayed in Canada and you weren't able to kind of do all of those things to start with, you might never get that chance again, which is just like it's brave to say no to something like that if it is like your dream like that.
Especially because everyone's so driven in the sport.
Yeah, of course. And also like where it's going and the opportunities, and also how well Canada are going at the moment in terms of the international stage.
Yeah.
Opportunities to play at World Cups and medal and Olympic Games with the sevens and all that sort of stuff. It's bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I probably would have gotten into that team if my path had gone the same exact way with Canada. Like I converted to a loose head. I still don't think I would have been the right fit. So I think it was always a clash, if that makes sense. So yeah, for me, and I think too, it's like, if you're at a club and you don't get on with a coach, or you don't think it's an environment that supports you, or you don't necessarily feel like you're giving your best, you move to a different club and you find a different route. But when it's your international career, there's no choice. And if you don't get on in an environment, that's your livelihood and that's your dream. That's all you get. So it's either sacrifice yourself and parts of who you are as a person or follow your dream. There's no choice in that.
It's really interesting. Obviously, speaking to Ollie Perry when we were at Loughborough last week, she was talking about very similar things. She ended up retiring from the game at 23, 24, I think, because of really similar sort of reasons in terms of just not getting on in that environment and knowing there was a hell of a more to life in her, the rest of her career than that.
It's the same when I stepped away. Didn't even realise when I had my little break.
Yeah.
Mad.
But it is interesting that you had that belief. You also diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder 6 months ago. Do you, now that you have your diagnosis, look back on some of the decisions you've taken along the way and go, oh, a lot of that actually makes sense now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably look back on a lot of my life and probably think I probably could have worked this one out a bit quicker. But
the signs were there.
Took a bit of a scenic route on that one. I mean, I did drop out of university at one point. Like, that's a pretty big red flag. Yeah, but no, I was like, I'm just going to keep trucking on in the neurotypical world. So that is a pretty recent thing for me. Yeah, so I just recently got diagnosed. Probably have like had awareness of it since I was kind of in my like late teens when I went to university. Just kind of struggled with a few different things and was kind of like, oh, maybe I'm just a bit stupid and I'm a bit like not all there, and yeah, maybe I just am not meant to do well in these kinds of things. And actually looking back on it, it's like, well, no, actually your brain's just wired a bit of a different way and you're not stupid at all. But
how does it manifest for you?
A lot of it has to do with like my emotional regulation and my like rejection sensitivity, I would say, is probably the two biggest things. And that's probably how it impacts my life mostly, because like rugby, all of it is like feedback and direct comparison and all those things. And I'm like, who I am as a rugby player is exactly who I am as a person. So if I'm doing poorly at rugby, I'm a bad person. Like there's no like
separation.
You really live
from
on that wave as well.
I do really ride that wave a lot, which is, we're working on it. We're getting there. But yeah, and just in terms of like even just like tasks and things like that, like I had, before I got contracted, I was at a normal desk job and I thought, okay, I've got a normal job, like whatever. And then I was still struggling to do things.
What
and
were you
like
doing?
So I worked for a place called Heart Sports Partnership, and it was essentially a government funded thing that helps kids on free school meals do like holiday camps and stuff like that, kind of on the back of like Marcus Rashford and that. So it was really cool. It was really rewarding. But I was like, wow, yeah, there's a lot of like deadlines and things that I actually have to stick to. And I, again, was like, okay, this is another environment where I'm like, not quite, I'm struggling a bit and I need extra support. So
The thing with ADHD, though, is that so much of the research is done on men and boys and is standardized. And so the flags that you look for, like from a clinical perspective, tends to be ones that have been determined according to how it manifests in men. Not in women.
Absolutely. And it's like this whole kind of thing about like a fidgety kid that's a bit naughty and lashes out in class and can't sit still. And that partially was probably me, but it was also that I got decent grades. I did well enough, got through, but was a bit chatty, couldn't really focus on things, couldn't get tasks done. And yeah, my emotional regulation was probably like the biggest one. So it's funny because I talk to my mum quite frequently about it, and I'm like, "How did you miss so many signs? Like,
No, don't.
what?"
My mum is and was a teacher. She missed my sister's dyslexia, dyspraxia, and dyscalculia.
Right, that's pretty bad.
Yeah,
actually.
we absolutely
She was a head
slammed
teacher as well.
it. Yeah, head teacher. Yeah.
Sally Ann.
How did it feel when you got your like diagnosis? Though? Was it like a weight lifted?
Yeah, I think I just felt really validated, to be honest, because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not making all of this up, and like it's not just like a big TikTok trend. Like it actually is my life, and it's actually how. Yeah. So I think that is a big thing. Like obviously, a lot of more people are being diagnosed with it because they're realizing things, and there's a lot more out on like social media about it. But for me, it was like, it wasn't even like, oh, I can't sit still, whatever. It was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like the way I like perceive myself and the way I like interact with things, and when I make mistakes, like how that comes about it in my time management and things like that. Like that's, wow, yeah, like that really resonates with me. And that's where I was like, wow, that's me.
How did you got diagnosed? Did you seek it out, or was it someone going, actually, Mack, I think?
Yeah,
This
so
might
I
help.
kind of had like a bit of I was like, I think I have ADHD, but like I also am like relatively anxious person, kind of have low moods, like I'm not really sure. So I just went to a GP and I was like, I need some support. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I think I have ADHD. I don't know what the process is to do it. I know it's like daunting and it's long and there's wait lists and whatever. And he just basically said like, yeah, we can put you on a wait list for ADHD. But again, they were also quite dismissive in the sense that they're like, oh, well, like, are you quite fidgety? And I was like, well, I'm an adult. So no, I am able to sit down and do things. Like that is pretty like, you have to do that in some sense. And he was like, well, we'll put you on antidepressants because will help with some of these symptoms. And yeah, it's probably anxiety, depression, whatever. So kind of went down that route, was on an NHS wait list for I think about 2 years. Still haven't actually heard back from the NHS. If you want to contact me, I'm all good actually.
They're under pressure.
Yeah, but no. And then I ended up once I got contracted with England, I was like, okay, I have a bit more financial stability. I'm just going to pursue this privately. And so I've been doing that over the last year or so, just pursuing it privately and getting that sorted myself. So
It's a bit concerning that you're prescribed antidepressants when were you clinically depressed?
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a combination of things. Like I had quite a lot of things going on in my life at that time. And yeah, my family life and my childhood probably impacts a lot of that stuff too. And yeah, it's like, what is it, anxiety, depression, or is it ADHD, or is that like a manifestation of the way that so I think it's probably a bit of both. But that's just the easiest route for them to go down is to say, okay, well, you're obviously struggling. Here's something that could potentially help you.
Did it help?
I think at the beginning it felt like a bit of a band-aid, and I think I was like, oh, okay, this is really gonna be good. Yeah, like maybe it's not the ADHD stuff, like whatever. And then as it kind of got on, I was like, no, I think there's like a bigger thing going on here. Yeah, it just doesn't really, it feels like a band-aid. Like it doesn't feel like it's really sorting it. And then now, since I've had my like ADHD medication, I feel like a world of difference, really, to be honest. Like at the start, it was really slow, and I was like, oh, nothing's really happening. And now I'm like, no, it's
You made a TikTok, an Instagram reel about this where you took your first ADHD medication and you were like, it's over for you guys.
Yeah, it is
now.
over for you. Talk about that triple threat, girl.
What are the biggest differences? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I actually said to Mack, I was like, please don't change that.
Yeah, you did. She was like, I don't want you to start your medication. I was like, I'm not going to lose my sparkle.
And it's true, can confirm it has.
It's just a little more focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
have
I
you
think
noticed like tangible day-to-day things that you're like, I can now do that slightly differently, or I approach it differently, or I react differently?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with, I think even just like the validation of being like, okay, this is the way your brain works. And then you have access also to like funding and like life coaching and counseling and things like that are way more catered towards ADHD, which is like where I'm kind of heading now, is like doing that sort of stuff. But even just like how I would describe it is like, I just feel a bit less frazzled. And I think probably up until this point, I've just always kind of felt a bit like, I don't know what's going on all the time. Like my brain just never switches off. And my sleep is also another really big one. Like I'm a terrible sleeper. I have terrible like night terrors, like sleepwalking, the whole 9 yards. And like, yeah, I've always been like that since I was a kid. And I think that probably is a huge thing to do with ADHD, that you just never switch off and you're like so imaginative and there's like, yeah, so much going on up there. Whereas I feel like I've slept quite well in the last few months. And he did say that, like, the psychiatrist I've been speaking to, he's like, yeah, normally people struggle with sleep at the start and then you actually sleep better. And that has been exactly what's happened. So.
Do you think it's directly affected your rugby and the playing? Because this is totally my opinion, but you've been killing it this year, in my opinion. I think you've been awesome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Quite nice.
But like, if you maybe, like, I know if I sleep better, generally I train better the next day. So it's quite, I would say most people are like that. They can do things better.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, yeah. And I think just on the whole, I feel like I just feel in such a better place about myself. And I therefore can like invest into the physical side of things, I guess. Whereas I felt like I was just like, almost like I was like, I'm doing everything I can and it's just not working. But it's because there was just like such a disconnect between how I felt about myself and the way like, yeah, my mental health was and my physical health. So yeah, it probably is a bit of both, really, to be honest. But I think more so it's like that internal validation, I guess, and knowing that like, okay, you're not just disruptive, like you are just actually, you're just a bit different.
Does that mean we won't have any more fun sleepwalking stories?
No, those will probably still stay, I'm sure. I've had so many now.
Give us some. Come on.
Oh gosh. Sarah is like, she's like, you're actually terrifying. Like I actually cannot sleep next to you. When I was younger, when I was at university, I one time woke up with the entire cutlery drawer in my bed because I just dumped the whole cutlery drawer. Spoons, forks, knives, quite dangerous actually. And I was like, oh, anyways, just carried on with my day. Yeah, there's so many. I'm like, oh my God, there's a person in the room. Sarah, oh my God. And she's like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, anyways. And she's like literally awake for 6 hours after that. Like, oh my God, there's somebody in the room. And I'm like, why? And like sometimes too, she'll be like, what? Like, what's going on? And then I'll wake up and I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Like, why are you so angry? And then I just immediately go back to bed and I'm like, you're a horrible person. She's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you have no recollection.
Sometimes,
it's not like you have a vague dream and you're like, oh, the cutlery makes sense because I was...
Sometimes I have like a
Like,
literally...
you were what? Dreaming of unpacking the dishwasher or something?
I don't
I'm like
know.
Ratatouille. I'm like in the kitchen. I'm like cooking away. Sometimes I do have like some recollection of it, or like I'm being totally transparent here. I do often lie. So I as in I come around and I'm like, oh, like I must be up for something. I have to go to the toilet. And I'm like, no, you were sleepwalking. Just admit it to yourself. And I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, I think I'm doing something. And I'll be like folding t-shirts in the corner. And Sarah's like, what are you doing? I'm like, a project. Actually, wouldn't you like to know what I'm doing at midnight? Yeah. Whatever. These are my working hours, girl. But yeah.
I mean, imagine, like the other Mack is really productive. Obviously, she's got a lot
She's
that
got
needs to get
serious
done.
task to get done.
Yeah.
She still doesn't get much done, if she's completely honest. But yeah, no, it's been good.
Wow. Does that scare you sometimes?
The sleepwalking bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I trust myself.
Yeah, you're not two-faced.
Yeah, no. I know sometimes I do. Oh, the one that is actually quite bad. I sometimes reply to messages without knowing. Yes, this actually happened to Hannah. We actually got in a bit of a squabble one time because she had messaged me the night before and said, can you give me a lift in tomorrow? But she's quite a late person. I am too, but I've been trying to stay a bit more regimented. So I think she's messaged me like probably past when I went to bed. Anyways, I wake up the next morning, I get in my car, start driving away. She stood at the front of the hotel and she's like, are you serious? You're leaving me here. And I was like, excuse me? I have no idea what you're talking about. And she was like, you literally messaged me back and said, and I said, read it out, Hannah. And it went, yeah, yeah. And I said, yo, no red flags there. Hey, you thought that was the other 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? So, and she was like, fine. I was like, get in the car now. I haven't left anyways. It's fine. But yeah, so sometimes that, and it's like always just incoherent. Like, I'm just like, yeah. And then like people are like, oh, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Have you had a lot of white chocolate? What's going on? What's going on over there?
When we had Amy Barrett-Thorn on and she spoke to us about her autism diagnosis, I said to her, like, I just can't imagine being autistic and then enjoying being in the middle of, like a pitch with a load of players around you and spectators and people. And she said, it gives her this hyper focus. Like she's incredibly super strength. Like that's her superpower. Does ADHD help you in some ways?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I think, you hear about like kind of, like when neurodiverse people really like something, they really like something and they're good at it. And so I think that's where rugby was always kind of my like space where I didn't feel different, I guess. Like I think in like school and academic settings, I always felt just a little bit like different or not quite as intelligent as my peers. And whereas rugby, I was like, oh no, like, and a lot of like neurodiverse people think in pictures, and like I'm one of those people, and that's basically rugby is just a giant picture in front of you, a moving picture constantly. So I think that's where you end up like flourishing, because you are super creative and you have all these like different like ways of thinking and processing information, and it's all like physical. So like you're in control of your own body, and it's just, and I notice too, like when I don't exercise as much as I do like in a normal training week or on a deload week, my mood is also a bit lower, and that's taken me a while to figure that out. Don't know why, but again, we're getting there. But so it's just all connected to it, I think, and just the way I think and process information. And I think it's definitely helped me. I think you have to be a bit wired a slightly different way anyways to be good at rugby. So
at what age did you start playing?
I was probably about 8. My dad played, my brother played, and I got dragged along, and that was like pretty much how it happened. And where I lived in Canada, it was like such a weird niche little pocket where everyone played rugby if you were cool.
It was so funny when we were away in Canada at WXV last. Anything that anyone wanted to do, had a question about, like we just all assumed Mack would know the answer, even though it was like something that was not even related to Canada or Vancouver or anything. It was like, oh, Mack, do you
It was
and
crazy.
She's like, are you
At one point the coffee machine stopped working and everyone was like, Mack, and I was like, I'm not an electrician, like I'm not a magician either, so I don't know how to help you. Actually, I'm just simply Canadian, and I'm actually not that Canadian anyways. So they were like, the plug's not working, and I was like, yep.
It was so funny.
It was like,
so funny.
It was over the top. Even like Lewis, she's like, hey, do you know any good steak restaurants? I'm like, no, but Google does. Like, you can type that one into Google. Yeah. No, it was good though. I did feel a little bit like a celebrity. And I was like, I love being needed. I love being needed right now.
It was so nice for you to play in front of your whole family.
Yeah, it was super cute. I loved every second of it, and like all my cousins and their kids, got to see me play, and it was just, I just loved it.
I think that is one thing we take for granted here, like obviously how accessible rugby is, and like the fact that we play all the time, Six Nations every year, and like parents and family can get to it a lot. So seeing how happy you were, that was actually
it was really nice seeing the ticket list. So you always get, what would you get? 3 or 4 tickets per game. And obviously when you're abroad, like some of us wouldn't have had any family there, so most people like 0, 2 if your parents have come out, or sister or whatever. And then Mackenzie Carson, it was like 25.
My mum was walking around the streets telling people she could get them free tickets. I was like, first of all, they can buy them. They're on sale, and we're not going to sell out. Don't worry. And also, you don't know them. What is happening? And she's like, well, can we get them? Can they come to the hotel after? I'm like, no. How about no? How about we don't do that?
It's her perk. It's the one time that she can cash in on the fact that her daughter plays for the Red Roses.
And she like was sending messages in the parents group. I was like, Mum, I'm going to sort it. She's like, I've already asked all the parents. Don't worry. Amy Cocaine's parents are letting me have her tickets. I was like,
she had Ella's mum and Bernard's mum stay.
Yeah, they did have a little like trio going on, and they did absolutely love it. And they did.
Wasn't she also putting like tips and places to go and visit, and
which
like,
and I think linking back
to the steak restaurant.
Yeah, well, she asked the wrong girl, man. The thing is, if you ask my mom about a steak restaurant, so this is like looping back to the ADHD thing. My mom is like the complete opposite in terms of like, we're very similar in terms of sense of humor, personality, but she is so organized, type A. Everything to a T. So if you asked her for a steak restaurant, she'd give you the top 3 that are highly rated, and she'd give you the reasons why, and she'd have a spreadsheet to tell you all the different ones and what the menus look like and the updates, and that one time there was a rat in the kitchen in 2016 or something. Like she would just know literally everything about it. She would have everything on a little spreadsheet that she would just like pass out. Whereas I'm like, how do you spell steak, actually? Can you use that in a sentence for me? I'm like, no, the complete opposite. So I think she was always just like, I'll just do it for you. And I was like, well, works for me.
Super cute.
Love that.
So
So you were capped for England. Let's go back to the rugby just for a small sojourn.
I played rugby for a genuine minute there. Wow.
You capped during the Six Nations in 23 against Scotland. Back-to-back Grand Slam champs, 23-24. Back-to-back PWR champs, 23-24.
Actually wasn't there for the first bit, but
quite a successful few years for you.
Yeah, it's been
a tough gig.
Pretty fun, actually. It's been pretty,
So are you the secret?
I'm not saying anything that I'm not or that I am, but I think you guys need me. No, I wouldn't say I'm the secret, but yeah, I think potentially I love winning as well. So I kind of follow the, if you can't beat them, join them, and I quite literally did. So we can't beat them, so I'm playing for
Here
the
we
Red
go.
Roses.
But
Yeah.
you're still on the opposing team to your partner's team.
Yep.
Big rivalry between Gloucester-Hartpury and Bristol. It's one thing to be on the other team in the club side that, you know, is a massive rival. But it's like that's top tier rivalry if you're also in opposing positions.
Literally against each other at the scrum.
Literally physically trying to outsmart the other person in the scrum, one-on-one. As you said earlier, such a direct and quite personal battle. Why would you do that?
Well, the heart wants what the heart wants, doesn't it?
Yeah, but could one of
I
you
don't
not
know.
just...
I've got nothing. I have no idea why I do that. It's crazy business.
I mean, is managing a relationship and ADHD and an international rugby career not challenge enough for you? Like, let's step it up another layer.
yeah, I thought, let's get into business together, girl. Like, let's do this thing. Yeah, I'm going all in. All my eggs are in one literal basket in the Red Roses, and if it all fails, I am absolutely
Yeah. More fuel, you know, to power that scrum.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, I guess it's good because we obviously play different positions, so we're not competing for the same shirt, which I'm not sure I could do that. I think that would be really difficult because I'm just not sure.
So not a Boudon sans souci.
Yeah, I think that's probably like next level for me. I'm not sure I could compete, but we do physically compete against each other.
But it means
head
you
on head.
then literally go against each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
actual head on head
yeah,
as well when they
literally,
set some
physically.
literally head on head. And I'm not gonna lie, at Ashton Gate it did get a bit heated the other day. Some words were exchanged
Really?
from my part. I'm not proud
Are
of it.
you the chirpy one?
No, but Sarah is obviously a specimen. Have you ever seen an athlete like that woman? Like, just relax, okay? And like, you know the song that's like, please don't embarrass me, mother. That's what was singing in my head when we go against each other.
Sabrina
Do
Carpenter.
not embarrass me here.
Yeah.
Do not. And she does every time. She is superior to me. I will admit that.
What did you say to her?
I don't think. No, not superior to you. You have a
it's
good
fine.
battle.
We do have a good battle. However, she is, she's
She's
pretty
got the
world
dark
class.
arts a little bit more.
She, like, we talk about, like, she's also neurodivergent. I mean, we just gravitate towards each other. She is dyslexic. And we are suspecting maybe a bit autistic. We're going to maybe potentially go down that route soon. And her, like, special subject is scrums, specifically. She loves it. She lives it. She breathes it. So actually, like, when it was like before we were even together, I was just like, oh, I just want to learn off you of everything you have to know. And like now, like, I ask her questions and I'm like, don't look at anything else going on in the video, just look at me. What's going on here? Don't worry about the team, don't worry about what's going on, just give me what am I doing here? And she's pretty good with that, so she helps out a lot.
But what did you say to her in the scrum?
I wasn't in the scrum.
I
was it
did
not?
say something along the lines of, would you like to stop messing around? There was obviously worse words used. And scrummage against me. And she just went, sorry. Because she was just,
Oh, it was the scrum. Sorry, I was thinking something else.
There was another moment. She
Sorry.
did get quite high up on the head. And I said, if you hit me on the head again, there's going to be serious trouble here, girl. And she was like,
There were
"Oh."
more words used, didn't there?
Yeah. But that's
Fill
just
in a few
More
blanks.
explosive.
Cole's
Yeah.
note to that. Yeah.
So
But yeah.
I can't remember who rooked over at that point, but they heard the exchange happen and were like, oh,
And everyone was like, a bit like,
and then like run away.
it was about that. I do think she's slightly scared of me, which is good. You want to keep them on their toes. Don't you? No, but she is like world class, and I think I have so much to learn off of her. And testing yourself against those people week in and week out is really important. And I do think it makes it difficult to maintain a relationship in that sense because, it's quite a unique situation. Like, how do you talk about it? How do you, like, her success is essentially my failure in that sense and vice versa. So I think it can be really challenging, but we also have like so much mutual respect for each other. And we know that we're going to go out there and do the best job we can for one another. And we're constantly growing in that area. Like scrums, you never just like are perfect at them and that's it. You have one scrum where you're like, oh my gosh, I nailed that. And the next one, your face is in the floor and you're like, oh, maybe not. So we kind of know that it's a thing that we have to keep working on anyways. So yeah, a little smooch at the end, a little cuddle,
Just
little stab in the back.
is there any way in which you feel like this fuels the competitiveness must just be so off the charts because you're in each other's brains the whole week long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, Sarah is so crazy competitive. Like, there's like two people that I would like think in this world that like if they like had to find a way to do something, they would do it. And that's Zoe Elcroft and Sarah Byrne. Like, they will find a way and they will do it, whether they're down bad or they're up top. Like, I would actually love to see them go like head to head in like a physical
something
till like exhaustion to see
rowing
who
or bike.
See who taps out first.
Yeah, see who taps out first.
One would pass
one
out
would
first.
One would die.
They
No, one
would
would
pass
die.
out.
Yeah.
They would actually not tap out.
Yeah.
I stand by it.
And they're like roommates in camp as well, so I think they just feel each other on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I'm just a different type of competitiveness though. Like, I'm pretty like laid back, but like I hate losing. And so when it gets down to it, or if somebody like really gets under my skin, I'm not going to let you have it. So when it comes to scrums, it's pretty full on. I think the England coaches too were a bit like, oh, did you guys have a bit of a gentleman's agreement? And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No way. No such thing. Not with Sarah Byrne, that's for sure.
No.
But
we need to talk about Gloucester-Hartpury, Wales, which is where Sean Lynn has gone.
He had the audacity to put a Welsh shirt on the other day.
He did.
He literally was like, girls, girls, girls at the start of the meeting, took his hoodie off.
Not the meeting where he told you?
No.
No.
Oh, that was
sorry.
funny.
I was going to say,
Whoa,
but that was actually
whoa.
worse.
That was
actually
funny.
worse.
I can't even remember why he did it, but he basically just took his
No one even provoked
Gloucester
it.
hoodie off and was like, "Way." He was just stood there.
And then he said like, see you on the 29th of March. I think that's when the game, and we were like, all right.
I rate that though.
He's getting it. He is getting it on the 29th of March, honestly. I keep telling him.
When he did tell us though, we did log on to the Zoom call and he was just sat in this little office with a giant WRU thing behind him. We were like, wonder what this one's about.
The camera was so far
And he was
away.
and he was so little in his tiny little suit and it was so cute. And also they must have started it like bang on because I'm obviously always late. And like halfway through he was like, yeah, so anyways guys, that's pretty much it. And I was like, wait, so what's actually happened though? I missed the whole meeting. It's happened in 30 seconds, but yeah, our
Story's
boy's
out.
moving on.
And would you like to discuss this any further?
Oh, do you know what? Like, selfishly, obviously gutted. I'm definitely not got too many years left and would have loved to have seen it out under Lynn. Like, we love him. Like, everyone wants to play for him. He's a great guy, galvanises a team. But I think he's so proud of Wales. He's so proud of the girls. Like, for my Welsh friends, I'm buzzing because I think they need somebody, like, really strong, someone that they want to play for, that's passionate in that environment, that's going to drive change, which I think that he'll do. But yeah, like, obviously he'll be a massive loss at Gloucester-Hartpury. And he's been at Hartpury for 24 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
24 years, yeah. So he was there for, I don't know if he was there for college, but he's definitely there for uni. He started lecturing, like, straight out of uni there. And he'd been there since. So, like, it's a massive decision for him and his family. And they've moved house already. I think they're buzzing about it, like, down the road. Because obviously he lived on site before. So, yeah, like, huge change for him and his family. But I think that, like we were saying earlier, there's no better man really for it, is there?
Yeah,
Do you think it's given you guys an additional emotional driver going into obviously like the playoffs and stuff this season? Because obviously, like, no one's ever done it 3 times. Is that right?
It has
So
happened.
that
Not in
before.
the-
Oh, sorry, not in the new era.
New era.
Fine, in the new era, no one's done it 3
Who
times.
did it in the old era?
Saris probably.
Richmond, wasn't
probably.
Didn't Rach Buffett tell us?
Oh, yeah,
it
she
was-
did, yeah.
Richmond.
But
fair enough.
obviously, like, I mean, you all want to win it, obviously, but that's now going to be a huge.
Yeah, I think you notice like it's always easier to be hunting. Like, it's always easier to be almost like the underdog and you get up for that. Not that you get up for it more, but like there's always that little bit of fire in you that like you want to prove everyone else wrong and all that sort of stuff. So like, I don't think we needed any extra motivation because obviously to do it 3 times and like the girls are so driven, everyone's so motivated to do it. But like, absolutely, it would be amazing to give him the send-off that I think we all think he deserves, especially, like I said, 24 years at a place. Like, the amount of titles that he's won there for the Bucks men, like, obviously, overseeing the Bucks women and then with Gloucester-Hartpury would be pretty epic to do it.
Semi-final secure for you guys in Harlequins. Congratulations.
Man, that game was
How
spicy.
we've swindled that, but
That game was or will be.
Was the Harlequins Exeter game? Exeter Harlequins,
Oh,
I
sorry,
should say.
yes.
Haven't seen spice like that on the women's rugby pitch for a little while. Little wave.
Skaz is loving it.
Little ways.
Really should.
I'm
Wild.
impartial these days, aren't I?
Was your phone popping off as well?
My phone was. Weren't we texting each other?
Yeah, we were. Actually.
Wasn't your phone popping up when you got my messages?
Oh, it was from me.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
how's your lip balm stash doing? Player of the match.
Oh, do we have to?
We have to.
You outed yourself about it.
I know. I thought
live
it was
on
funny.
TNT.
Like, you know when you just don't think like after a game, just one thinking straight. Yeah, tragic, really.
Tragic.
Basically, got to camp. Like,
It's so good, isn't it? It's so good.
we got to camp. So obviously, like, I never really get player of the matches. Like, I know you're going to say that I do whatever, but I actually don't. And the beauty of being on TNT is we also have like an in-house player of the match, which we get Gloucester Food Dock vouchers for, which is a brilliant place. And even if the coaches don't think that you deserve it because you got the main one, you have to get the other one as well. So you really clean up, like if you're on TNT. Anyway, like that Clinique bag's awesome, like loads of really cool stuff in it. And all I wanted was a nice lip balm. And then there was this like stick in there, like bright purple. Like, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like buzzing about this lip balm. Got into camp on the Monday. Like sat there, we were all in these like meetings and stuff, and just get my lip balm out. It's bright purple, so it's quite obvious. Like obviously, pull it on,
Yeah, it's quite
clip
obvious.
clip it back in, put it in my pocket. Meg Jones, frickin' Hawkeye, comes over. Of course it's her, and is like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What am I doing?" And she was like, "What have you just put on your lips?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my lip balm for the weekend." I was buzzing about it.
It's
she was like,
Retinal Anti-Wrinkle or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how it describes itself.
But I didn't know what retinal meant. I didn't know that was for my freaking eyes. So honestly, like the world I want to swallow me, because one, like I'm embarrassed anyway that I did it wrong, and secondly, Meg Jones caught me, so I'm like even more embarrassed now. And I was like, Meg, like don't say anything, Freaking scuttles off to Scaz straight away, didn't she?
No, you came and told me.
Oh, maybe I told you because I was so embarrassed and I needed comfort. And Kelsey Clifford, Wes, was sat next to her. And if you don't want the room to know that something's funny, don't say it in front of Wes, because her laugh is so loud and so infectious. And honestly, she was crying. And then like within seconds, the whole squad knew.
Did you put eye cream on your lips?
Basically. But honestly, it was the best lip balm I've ever had, I swear down. So I think they're missing a trick here. So if no one's done it before, Clinique, like
You missed the
that's
trick.
trademark now. How do you do that?
Most
TM?
expensive lip balm you've ever had.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, but
Yeah.
very grateful.
Keep the retinol up here.
Too funny.
Yeah.
And then thank you so much for all of the likes that you served up when you made us that beautiful poster of yourself versus
that
Ilona.
was so unlike you.
You made that
Yeah.
Here we go.
on Canva? What's your login? Let me get into that.
Her Canva
Wow.
skills.
This is exactly my point.
Didn't know you were so
So
conceited.
good.
So what is your point? Because you haven't made it yet.
Sorry, no, I made it last week in Loughborough.
Right, I haven't heard
I
that
said
one yet.
I think I was just having a casual conversation with Jazz, who obviously does nearly all of our social media, if not all of it, saying that I get messages from people, or people ask me about the posts that I've just put up on GSR. And I was like, do these people understand me at all? Like, I can't function my own personal account, let alone
Well, they're obviously not
whatever
listening
that
to
was
the
you
pod.
just said. Jazz told me about that.
Canva.
Canva, never
Whatever
heard of
that
it.
was.
Never
You
heard
need
of it.
help.
Canva.
You need help.
Do you have Canva?
I've
Yes,
never
I have
heard of it, let
Canva.
alone use it.
Yes.
Yes, I have
Right.
Canva.
Never. Yeah, I've used.
I mean, it's not like a
thing.
thing that you have. You can't like add me on Canva. Like it's not like a. It's not social media.
Mo,
Yeah,
is
but what do you do
Canva
on
a
Canva?
dating
It's
app?
like it's like graphic design.
But
basically.
you make
Well,
graphics
yeah,
that
so,
you
like-
then post.
Well, not necessarily that
Don't
I
get mad at me.
post, but why am I
There are
so
templates
irate?
on there as well.
You don't know what Canva is? No, but you can make like little slideshows or like little like I have actually created something and posted it on Instagram
Right.
from Canva.
Right, we're gonna have a lesson later.
Definitely.
I'll add you later. Don't worry.
Thank you.
And since Loughborough beat Bristol, we're
Get
going to
in.
have to trot one of those out every week now. I mean, that's the solution.
Who have you got next?
It was fun.
Just Ealing left.
Yeah, just Ealing.
What do you mean? You're going to
Sorry,
win the
trail
league in a
finders.
minute.
Yeah, whoa.
The mini league.
Just Ealing
Where
it.
are you sat in the mini
If
league?
the end of the season was, it's a shame, isn't it, really?
Gosh.
But yeah, Bristol game was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sorry, on
We're
that, I
playing
do find it hard that the season started the way it did, because if it didn't, and if you had all your internationals back, that is brutal for you guys.
Yeah, it's tough. But this season was always going to be about if, like, you didn't start well. And by start well, I mean, like, actually picking up points. Because obviously you guys probably, by your own standards, didn't start well, but you're still picking up good points.
Yeah.
We went a good period without picking up any points, and then it's just going to be so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're coming good at the end of a season, which is never ideal, but in the same breath, beat Sarries, beat Bristol. So there's a couple of good memories, good moments in there. So it's fun.
Have you got a little invitation for us to the PWR final, Scazzy?
What do you mean?
Look at the.
Have I got to read it? Yes.
What do you
Yes,
mean?
Elma. It's funny you should say that. If you haven't already, make sure you get your tickets to our live show at the PWR final on the 16th of March. You guys are hoping to be playing in it. We will see what happens there.
See what happens.
But we're doing a collab with the Power Pod. So me, KDM, Nick Keith, Meg, Philippa Tutier, and obviously your fine self will be there. And you can find details in the link in our bio on socials. That's going to be fun.
Love that. Mackenzie Carson, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Countess Dr. Mackenzie Brooke Carson. The sleepwalking queen.
Sleepwalking.
Foodie. Sleepwalker.
Gen Z.
Prop hooker.
Canva user.
Baby boomer.
Canva user. Sabrina Carpenter
Baby
specialist.
Yeah. Lesbian. That's all I've got to say.
In case you were unsure about 90% of the conversation we've had so far. Thank you for being so vulnerable and generous with especially your ADHD journey, but also just the really interesting path that you've charted through the rugby world so far. We're so excited to see what you do next.
Thanks. Yeah.
And it's good to have you here. We can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Here we go, the circus.
Ooh.
And have the best rest of your birthday.
Thank you.
Are you having some pretentious dinner?
I'm not.
Oh.
No. This was the highlight of my day.
Oh, stop that.
You know, I booked my flight back to be here for this.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Wow, you shouldn't have done that. It's not worth it. Wow.
you're
They
worth
said,
you were
they
so
said
worth
Countess
it.
Dr. Mackenzie Brooke Carson
And you're
was going
like,
to be here.
Get me on the BA
I
flight
was
now.
like, get me on
I'll
that
fly
BA
the plane
flight.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah. No joke. I would.
Yeah.
There was a woman pilot on the plane today, and I was like,
that?
oh yeah, when she did the announcements. It's like girl power.
Wow,
Made me so
nice.
happy. Okay, and on that incredibly irrelevant note, The Good, the Scaz, and the Rugby is brought to you by our good friends at Vodafone. The Good, the Scaz, and the Rugby is a Folding Pocket production produced by
Shira Kilgallen.
Did you just meow?
That was my slipper.